The people, the headlines, the issues impacting you and your family. This week in Cincinnati on 9 on Your Side.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to This Week in Cincinnati. I'm Tanya O'Rourke. The primaries in Ohio and Indiana are just days away now. In Ohio, voters will decide whether to approve Issue 1, which would change the way congressional districts are drawn. And critics charge the current system is prone to gerrymandering. That's when district lines are drawn to help one party or another. Supporters of District 1 say Ohio has many examples of gerrymandering. In northern Ohio, look at this, the 9th district that is often used as a classic example of gerrymandering. It's often called the Snake by the Lake, a thin strip that runs from Cleveland to Toledo. Closer to home, the 1st Congressional also raises some eyebrows. It covers the west side of Hamilton County, all of Warren County, and it's connected by a relatively small area of land in northeast Hamilton County. Ohio Issue 1 would set up a 4-part process to draw congressional districts and, in the process, give the minority party in Columbus a greater voice in the process. Well, first, lawmakers would have to come up with a map, and it would have to be passed by a 60% margin in both the House and the Senate. And half of the minority party members would also have to approve it for it to pass. And if that doesn't work, a 7-member commission gets a crack at it. That includes the governor and other statewide office holders and 4 lawmakers, 2 from each party. 4 of the 7 members would have to approve, plus 2 minority party votes. And if that fails, lawmakers, well, they can try again. But this time, the threshold for passage would be much lower. It would need approval from 3/5 of all members, including 1/3 of minority party lawmakers. And then, if all else fails, the majority party can create the map. But it will follow some strict rules, and it will be only in effect for 4 years, just 2 congressional cycle elections. So they would soon face this process all over again. Sounds exhausting, doesn't it? Well, this morning, we are proud to have with us people from both sides of the debate over this issue. Joining us is Elizabeth Brown. She's the president of the Cincinnati League of Women Voters. Thank you so much for being with us. We should say the League of Women Voters is in favor of Issue 1's passage.
Absolutely. We have been encouraging people to vote yes, and we've got members out on the streets telling people that and passing out cards. So
why do you feel it is so necessary to pass this at this point?
The League has been working for redistricting reform for decades. And it's so important to have fair elections. When the districts are manipulated through gerrymandering, you end up with folks not picking their politicians, but their politicians picking them. And we feel that competitive elections are important, and it's important both in reality, but also the perception. If you feel that there's no you voting because everyone knows who's going to win in a gerrymandered district, then the whole election system loses credibility. And the League, you know, what is most important for us is for folks to get involved in that election system and understand their power as voters. And fair districts are essential to that.
Because it's true that in a primary specifically, there will be very few people out voting on Tuesday. We know that. And that's part of the problem, right?
That is definitely part of the problem. They say voter turnout will likely be lower than 30%, maybe even lower than 20%, as it has been in the past. This time we do have the issues on the ballot in addition to the parties picking their candidates. You know, sometimes people don't vote in primaries because they consider themselves independents and they don't want to identify with either party. But you can ask for an issues-only ballot, and in Hamilton County at least, for statewide, there's Issue 1, but there's also important levies on in a lot of places.
It matters because your taxes could go up. If you don't want them to, you need to be able to voice that opinion, or vice versa, whatever, if you want to support that issue, for example. So as it relates to this, let's state quickly that the League of Women Voters is nonpartisan, not Democrat, not Republican, but it is issue-centric.
Absolutely. We call ourselves political but nonpartisan. We absolutely would never support a party or a particular candidate, but after study, we do take positions on issues, and we will advocate for those issues, like we are now for the Issue 1.
And you said this at the beginning, that you've been trying to do this for some time, but I think some people would say who are Republicans hold the power currently in the seat in Columbus. So they're the ones in charge of the map. So they would say, hey, were you fighting for this when the Democrats were in charge?
We absolutely were, and the Democrats didn't like it. They didn't want to lose power at that point in time. So yes, the Democrats gerrymander and don't like redistricting. reform and the Republicans now. Now, Republicans may feel they're going to lose power, but there's also a risk that they won't be in control after the next Senate. So, I mean, maybe they feel that risk is small, but if it does turn and the Democrats happen to be a majority after the next census, then it's again a winner take all, and nobody wins.
Does it go far enough, though? I think maybe there have been some criticism of this, that maybe it's not strong enough.
Right. It's, you know, I would like to see something maybe stronger, but it is very significant reform. It's reform that we've been fighting for years, and it was negotiated. You know, it's got bipartisan support. The Republican Party likes it, the Democratic Party likes it, and the civic organizations that had a major citizen initiative going signed on to it. And they would not sign on to it, some of the earlier proposals that came out of the General Assembly, because they weren't strong enough. And when they finally got it strong enough, so it has all the essential elements that we feel are significant to have fair districts, then we were saying, we support this. We really want to see this happen.
There is not an organized group against this, so you would almost think that people are saying, okay, we're okay with this. No?
Well, it's got a tremendous amount of support, and I hope it passes. But yeah, I think people understand that this is a really important issue, and we have to do something. If you vote no for it, what you're voting for is the current system. You're not voting for some theoretical better way of doing it. You're voting to keep the winner-take-all system we have now.
Well, as I mentioned, not everyone is in favor of issue 1. There's no big group against it, but there are some people who don't like it. When we come back, we're going to look at their concerns. And thank you for being with us today.